Carol Bennett stared through the bridge viewport of the Northern Star, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. The vast emptiness of space near Alpha Centauri stretched before her, but it wasn't empty anymore. 3 alien ships hung in the distance, their curved hulls reflecting the distant starlight. "They're hailing us again," reported Communications Officer Paul Harris, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Same frequency as before." Commander John Martinez nodded from his captain's chair. "Put them through, but maintain our shields. Carol, you're up." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, purple-skinned alien with multiple eye stalks. The universal translator kicked in as the creature began to speak. "I am Council Representative XR Thul. Your presence in this sector violates Galactic Council law. You will power down your vessels and prepare for boarding." The alien's tone carried an unmistakable note of superiority. Carol stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in. "Representative XR Thul, I am Diplomatic Officer Carol Bennett of Earth's Space Exploration Force. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration, and we're unaware of any territorial claims in this region. Perhaps we could discuss this matter." The alien's eye stalks twitched in what seemed like annoyance. "There is nothing to discuss. Your species has not been evaluated or approved for space travel beyond your solar system. Your level of technology is—" Tarful paused, checking something off screen. "Impossible. These readings must be incorrect." Martinez exchanged glances with Carol. The commander's weathered face showed concern, but also a hint of pride. They both knew what had caught the alien's attention. "Is there a problem, Representative?" Carol asked politely. "Your ship's energy readings suggest quantum fold capability. This cannot be. Level 3 civilizations are not permitted to develop such technology without Council oversight." Exarthal's voice had risen slightly. In the corner of the bridge, Chief Engineer Mary Collins couldn't suppress a small smile. The quantum fold drive had been humanity's greatest achievement, a technology that allowed them to bend space in ways that made traditional faster-than-light travel look primitive. "We developed the quantum fold drive independently," Carol explained. "We were unaware of any restrictions on technological development. Perhaps we could arrange a formal meeting to discuss Earth's entry into the galactic community." The alien's response was immediate and harsh. "Unauthorized quantum technology development is a severe violation of Council law. You will surrender your vessels and all technical data immediately." Martinez stood up, his patience wearing thin. "Representative XR Thul, we came in peace, but we will not surrender our ships or our technology. We suggest establishing diplomatic relations through proper channels. You do not understand your situation, humans. The Council does not negotiate with unauthorized species." Hexarthal's image vanished from the screen. "Multiple energy spikes from the Council vessels," reported Sensor Officer Lisa Wright. "They're charging weapons." Martinez's training took over. "Battle stations. Raise shields to full power. Mary, get the fold drive ready. Carol, send an emergency message to Earth Command." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as crew members rushed to their positions. The Northern Star's advanced systems hummed to life, its quantum-enhanced shields forming an invisible barrier around the ship. The first alien shots came as bright purple beams that splashed harmlessly against their shields. The Council ships, clearly expecting an easy victory, had fired warning shots. "Their weapon strength is within expected parameters," Lisa announced. "Our shields are holding at 98%. Carol finished transmitting the emergency message and turned to Martinez. "Commander, this is a serious breach of first contact protocols. The Council's own laws require peaceful first contact procedures." "I don't think they care much about protocols right now," Martinez replied grimly. "They're more concerned about our technology level." "Mary, what's the fold drive status?" "Ready to go, Commander," Mary called from her station. "But I have something interesting here. Their ships are using a pretty basic form of quantum shielding. Nothing like what we've developed." Martinez nodded thoughtfully. "So they're not as advanced as they want us to believe." Good to know. He turned to Carol. Options. Carol quickly analyzed the situation. We need to show strength without escalation. If they're breaking their own protocols, we need to document everything for future diplomatic channels. More ships incoming. Lisa's voice cut through their discussion. 5 vessels just dropped out of FTL behind us. The Northern Star's tactical display showed the new arrivals, larger vessels with more aggressive configurations. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Martinez made his decision. We're not starting a war today. Mary, plot a fold jump back to Earth. Let's show them what our ships can really do. Sir, Paul interrupted, we're receiving a broad-frequency transmission from the new vessels. A different alien appeared on screen. This one with red skin and bony ridges. Human vessel, this is Council Enforcer Drakmarch. Your unauthorized technological advancement ends now. Submit or be destroyed. Martinez looked at Carol, who shook her head slightly. This wasn't going to be resolved peacefully. All hands, prepare for quantum fold, Martinez announced over the ship-wide comm. Let's show the Council what human technology can do. Mary's fingers flew over her console, programming a complex series of fold jumps. Ready, sir. I've set up a triple fold maneuver. They won't be able to track us. The Council ships started to move into an attack formation, their weapons charging for a full assault. They clearly expected the humans to either surrender or attempt a conventional FTL escape. Execute fold jump, Martinez ordered. The Northern Star's quantum fold drive activated, creating a localized distortion in spacetime. To the Council ship's sensors, the human vessel seemed to bend in on itself before vanishing completely. Seconds later, the Northern Star reappeared near Earth's orbit, the complex jump having covered light years in moments. The Council ships would find it impossible to follow their path. As Earth's orbital defense platforms came into view, Carol was already preparing her report. This encounter would change everything. The galaxy wasn't as empty as humans had thought, but it also wasn't as advanced as it claimed to be. Martinez stood at the viewport, watching Earth grow larger. Send word to all exploration vessels. We need to recall our ships and prepare for what's coming. Carol nodded, knowing that humanity's peaceful exploration of space had just become much more complicated. The Council won't let this go, will they? No, Martinez replied. But they've shown their hand. They're afraid of our technology, afraid of what we might become. He turned to face his crew. They should be. As the Northern Star docked at Earth's main space station, the news of the encounter was already spreading through human space. The age of isolation was over, but humanity wouldn't be joining the galactic community as a humble newcomer. Instead, they would have to fight for their right to exist as equals. In her quarters later, Carol reviewed the encounter recordings. The Council's reaction to human technology told her more than any peaceful exchange could have. They weren't used to younger species advancing this quickly, and their fear had made them break their own laws. Earth's governments would need this information to prepare for what was coming. The Council had revealed itself as an organization that suppressed technological growth in younger species, and humanity had unknowingly broken their carefully maintained power structure. The war that would reshape the galaxy had begun with a single encounter near Alpha Centauri. Humanity's achievement in quantum physics had disrupted thousands of years of Council control, and the consequences were only beginning to unfold. As Carol finished her report, she couldn't help but smile slightly. The Council had expected to find primitive humans playing with their first FTL drives. Instead, they had found a species that had already surpassed them in key technologies. The coming conflict would not be the simple disciplinary action they imagined. The next few days would be crucial. Earth needed to prepare its defenses, gather its ships, and ready itself for a conflict that would determine not just humanity's fate, but potentially the future of all species who dreamed of breaking free from the Council's technological suppression. 3 weeks after the Alpha Centauri incident, Sandra White stood before the Earth Defense Council, pointing at the holographic display of Council ship movements. The large meeting room was filled with military leaders and scientists from around the world. Their attack pattern is predictable, Sandra explained, her voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. The Council relies on overwhelming force rather than tactical innovation. They're gathering their fleet here, and here. She pointed to 3 different star systems. George Phillips, the graying military strategist who had helped design Earth's space combat doctrine, nodded in agreement. They expect us to fight like they do, in large formations with head-on engagements. That's their first mistake. The room fell silent as a new alert appeared on the main screen. A massive Council fleet had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. At its head was the flagship of Council Military Commander Krelvin, known for his swift victories against other young species. They're earlier than expected, Sandra said, quickly adjusting her calculations. But we're ready. The shield harmonics upgrades have been installed on all our ships. The Council fleet's arrival message was broadcast across all frequencies. Attention primitive species. This is Commander Krelvin. Your defiance of Council authority ends today. Surrender your technology and accept our rule or face extinction. Earth's response came in the form of a seemingly small defensive fleet. The Council forces vastly outnumbered the human ships, at least 20 to 1. From his command ship, Krelvin allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be another easy victory. He was wrong. The battle began with the Council fleet advancing in their standard arrow formation, energy weapons charging. But the human ships didn't behave as expected. Instead of forming a defensive line, they scattered in what appeared to be chaos. What are they doing? Krelvin demanded, watching the tactical display. No species has ever. His words were cut short as the first wave of human attacks began. Sandra's shield harmonic breakthrough proved its worth in the opening minutes. The human ship's quantum-enhanced shields didn't just block Council weapons. They absorbed the energy and redirected it. Each Council blast made the human shields stronger. On the bridge of the Defense Fleet's lead ship, George Phillips watched his strategy unfold. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Quantum fold guerrilla attacks, pattern Delta. The human ships vanished, using their advanced quantum fold drives to appear and disappear around the Council fleet. Each appearance brought a devastating barrage of particle beam fire, targeting weak points that Sandra's analysis had identified in Council ship designs. Impossible, Krelvin shouted as another of his heavy cruisers exploded. Their technology cannot be this advanced. They're barely a century into space travel. The Council's tight formation, usually a show of power, had become a liability. Their ships couldn't turn quickly enough to track the rapidly moving human vessels. Each quantum fold jump put the human ships in perfect firing position, while the Council's return fire hit nothing but empty space. Sir, one of Krelvin's officers reported, we've lost 30% of our fleet. Their weapons, they're bypassing our shields somehow. Sandra's voice came through on the human fleet's comm channel. The particle beam calibration is working perfectly. Their quantum shielding technology is generations behind ours. They never expected to face anything this advanced. George's guerrilla tactics continued to prove devastating. Human ships would appear, fire, and vanish before the Council vessels could lock weapons. The massive Council fleet began to break formation, trying to spread out, but this only made them more vulnerable to the coordinated human attacks. Phase 3, George commanded. Show them what our ships can really do. The human fleet executed a series of synchronized quantum jumps that seemed to defy physics itself. They appeared to be everywhere at once, their advanced AI targeting systems coordinating attacks with microsecond precision. In his flagship, Krelvin watched in horror as his fleet was systematically torn apart. "This is impossible," he muttered. "We are the Council. We control all advanced technology. How can they?" His words were cut off as a human ship appeared directly in front of his flagship. The Council commander found himself staring at weapons unlike anything he had seen before. "Council Commander," George's voice came through on all channels. "Your fleet is in ruins. Withdraw now, or we'll be forced to demonstrate even more of our capabilities. Krulvin's pride warred with his survival instinct. Around his flagship, the remnants of his fleet were either destroyed or in retreat. The humans had done the impossible. They had not just defeated a council fleet, they had humiliated it. "This isn't over," Krulvin growled, ordering his remaining ships to retreat. As his flagship prepared to jump to FTL, he added, "The council will not forget this insult." When the last council ship disappeared from sensors, cheers erupted throughout the human fleet. But in the Defense Command Center, Sandra and George exchanged knowing looks. This was only the beginning. "They'll be back," Sandra said, already reviewing the battle data. "But now they know we're not the easy target they thought we were." George nodded, studying the damage reports. The human fleet had suffered minimal losses, while the Council had lost over 60% of their ships. More importantly, they know their technological superiority is a myth, at least in some areas. The news of the victory spread quickly through human space. Humanity had not only survived its first major space battle, but had decisively defeated one of the galaxy's supposedly supreme powers. The Council's reputation for technological superiority had been shattered. In the days that followed, Sandra worked tirelessly to analyze the Council technology they had captured from destroyed ships. Each piece of debris told the same story. The Council's technology was advanced, but it had stagnated. They had stopped innovating, relying instead on their ability to suppress the technological growth of other species. "Look at this," she explained to George during a late-night analysis session. "Their quantum field manipulators are like museum pieces compared to ours. They haven't made any significant improvements in centuries." George understood the implications. They're not used to fighting enemies with superior technology. Their entire strategy relies on overwhelming force against inferior opponents. "And now that strategy has failed," Sandra added, "but they won't adapt quickly. Their entire civilization is built on the belief in their technological superiority." Reports from deep space probes confirmed their theory. The Council was gathering an even larger fleet, but they weren't changing their tactics or upgrading their technology. They were simply planning to return with more ships, fighting the same way they always had. "They still think quantity will overcome quality," George said, reviewing the probe data. "Let them come. Each battle will just prove how wrong they are." As Earth prepared for the next inevitable confrontation, Sandra's team made another breakthrough in shield technology. The Council's defeat had only accelerated human innovation, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just its technology, but its ability to adapt and improve. The Council had made a critical mistake in assuming humanity would be an easy conquest. They had failed to understand that humans had achieved their technological advances not through careful control and suppression, but through freedom, creativity, and the drive to explore. The next battle would show them just how costly that mistake would be. Kevin Rogers wiped the sweat from his forehead as he made final adjustments to the targeting system prototype. The engineering lab on Luna Base hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked to push human technology even further ahead of the Council's capabilities. "Kevin, you need to see this," Linda Morrison called from her AI development station. Her usual calm demeanor was replaced with excitement. "The quantum prediction algorithms are working better than we expected." He walked over to her workstation, where complex patterns danced across multiple screens. The AI she had developed was processing combat data from the recent battles, predicting where Council ships would appear after their faster-than-light jumps. "How accurate is it?" Kevin asked, studying the numbers. Linda smiled. 98% accuracy in simulations. The AI can predict their jump points almost perfectly because their ships are so predictable. Dr. Peter Wright joined them, carrying his latest weapon designs. The weapons developer had been working nonstop since the first Council attack. "With accuracy like that, my new particle beam cannons will be even more effective." The three of them had become an unlikely but effective team. Kevin's targeting systems, combined with Linda's AI and Peter's weapons, were revolutionizing space combat. But they knew the Council wouldn't stay defeated for long. "They're gathering a massive fleet in the Proxima system," Peter said, pulling up the latest scout reports. 3 times larger than the last one. "They still think numbers will win this war." Linda shook her head. "They don't understand. It's not about numbers anymore. Our AI systems can make combat decisions in microseconds, while their ships still rely on pre-programmed response patterns." A sudden alert drew their attention. The lab's main screen lit up with an incoming transmission from one of Earth's forward bases. The Council was making another push, but something was different this time. "They're trying to adapt," Kevin observed, watching the footage. "Look at their formation changes. They're attempting to counter our quantum fold tactics." But the Council's attempts at adaptation were too little, too late. As they watched, a small group of human ships engaged the Council fleet. The new targeting systems Kevin had developed locked onto the Council ships' predicted positions perfectly. Linda's AI coordinated the attack pattern, analyzing and adapting to the Council's movements in real time. Peter's improved particle beams cut through the Council's outdated shields like they weren't even there. "Beautiful," Peter whispered as the battle unfolded. They never stood a chance. The lab erupted in cheers as the Council fleet retreated, but the 3 scientists remained focused on their work. They knew this was just another battle in a longer war. "We're getting reports from our deep space contacts," Linda announced, reading from her screen. "Some Council species are starting to question their leadership. Our technology is making them rethink everything they believed about their superiority." Kevin nodded. "Good. Maybe they'll finally understand that suppressing technological advancement only leads to stagnation." The next few days brought a flurry of activity. Kevin's team installed the new targeting systems across the human fleet, while Linda's AI received constant updates based on new battle data. Peter worked on miniaturizing his particle beam weapons, making them more efficient and powerful. One morning, as they were testing the latest improvements, an unexpected visitor arrived at the lab. A tall, insectoid alien walked in, escorted by security guards. It was a Council scientist who had defected. "Your achievements are remarkable," the alien scientist said, its translator converting clicks and chirps into English. "The Council has been lying to us for centuries about the limits of technological advancement." Linda stepped forward. "What do you mean?" "The Council deliberately limits research in certain areas," the alien explained. "They claim it's for safety, but it's really about control. Your quantum fold drive, we were told such technology was impossible." Kevin exchanged looks with his colleagues. This confirmed what they had suspected. The Council's technological superiority had been built on suppression rather than innovation. "Would you be willing to share your knowledge of Council technology?" Peter asked the defector. "It could help us end this war faster." The alien scientist's compound eyes gleamed. "That's why I came. Many of us want change. Your technology is proving that the Council has been wrong about everything." Over the next few weeks, more defectors arrived. Scientists and engineers from various Council species who had seen human technology in action and realized their civilization had stagnated. Kevin's targeting systems evolved rapidly with input from the defectors. Linda's AI learned to predict the movements of different Council ship types with even greater accuracy. Peter's weapons became more efficient as he incorporated aspects of Council energy management systems. But the biggest breakthrough came when they combined all 3 technologies into a single system. The result was something entirely new, a combat system that could think, adapt, and act faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "We're not just matching their technology anymore," Linda said during a test of the combined system. "We're pushing the boundaries of what's possible." The Council's response to these developments was predictable. They gathered even larger fleets, built bigger ships, and tried to overwhelm human defenses with sheer numbers. But against the new human technology, these tactics were becoming increasingly futile. "They still don't understand," Kevin said, watching footage of the latest battle. "This isn't about size or numbers. It's about innovation, adaptation, and freedom to develop new ideas. Peter nodded in agreement. Every battle makes our systems better. The AI learns, the targeting improves, the weapons become more efficient. Meanwhile, they're still using the same strategies they've used for centuries. The turning point came during a massive Council assault on one of Earth's colonies. The Council had committed nearly half their total fleet to the attack, expecting to overwhelm the colony's defenses through sheer numbers. Instead, they found themselves facing ships equipped with the latest human technology. Kevin's targeting systems predicted and tracked every movement. Linda's AI coordinated the defense with perfect precision. Peter's weapons carved through the Council fleet with surgical accuracy. The battle was over in minutes. The Council lost over 300 ships, while the human defenders suffered only minor damage. The message was clear. The era of Council technological supremacy was over. "We just changed the galaxy forever," Linda said quietly as they watched the Council fleet retreat. "And we're just getting started." She was right. The technological revolution they had sparked wasn't just about winning a war. It was about freeing the galaxy from centuries of enforced stagnation. Their innovations would soon spread to other species, breaking the Council's grip on technological development. As Kevin made final adjustments to the next generation of targeting systems, he couldn't help but smile. The Council had thought they could contain human advancement. Instead, they had sparked a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The age of suppression was ending. The age of innovation had begun. Michelle Turner sat in her office on the neutral space station Harmony Point, reviewing the latest messages from various Council species. As Earth's lead ambassador, she had spent months building relationships with those who questioned the Council's leadership. Alan Cooper, her top intelligence officer, entered the room with a datapad. "You need to see this," he said, placing it on her desk. "3 more Council species have reached out secretly. They want to talk." Michelle studied the information. The Krith, the Valerians, and the Nexar, all powerful species within the Council structure, were now seeking private discussions with humanity. The Council's grip on power was weakening. "Any word from our friend Sixtel?" she asked, referring to the moderate Council member who had been their most valuable ally so far. Alan nodded. He sent a coded message. "More Council representatives are questioning the old laws about technology control." Your last speech really hit home. 2 weeks earlier, Michelle had addressed a secret gathering of Council species. She had shown them proof of how the Council leadership had been lying for centuries, suppressing technological growth to maintain their power. Now, in her office, a holographic message appeared. It was Sixtel, his crystalline form glowing softly. "Ambassador Turner, we have a problem. The Council leadership is planning something desperate." "What kind of desperate?" Michelle asked, leaning forward. "They're talking about using forbidden weapons. Technology they've kept hidden, even from most Council members. They would rather destroy everything than lose control." Alan's face hardened. "We need to expose this. The other species need to know what their leaders are willing to do." Michelle agreed, but she knew they had to be careful. One wrong move could push the fearful Council species back into line. They needed proof that couldn't be denied. "Get me everything you can about these weapons," she told Alan, "and set up secure channels to our new friends. They need to be ready." Over the next few days, Michelle met with representatives from different species. Each meeting was held in secret, each conversation carefully encrypted. The story she shared was always the same: proof of the Council's lies, evidence of their corruption, and hope for a different future. "Your species has shown us something important," said the Krith ambassador, his fur rippling with emotion. "Progress doesn't come from control. It comes from freedom." The Valerian representative, a being of pure energy contained in a special suit, agreed. "We accepted the Council's laws because we believed they kept us safe. Now we see they only kept us weak." But not everyone was convinced. Some species still feared change more than they feared the Council. Others worried about what would happen if everyone had access to advanced technology. "How can we trust that freedom won't lead to chaos?" asked a nervous Nexer diplomat, their tentacles twisting anxiously. Michelle showed them Earth's history. Look at how our technology improved when we worked together instead of against each other. Yes, there were problems, but we solved them through cooperation, not control. Ellen's intelligence team worked around the clock, gathering more evidence of the Council's corruption. They found proof of sabotaged research projects, threatened scientists, and entire civilizations held back from their true potential. Zixtel helped them understand the Council's records. Each time a species got close to a breakthrough, the Council would step in, sometimes with threats, sometimes with violence. The evidence was devastating. Species that could have cured diseases were forced to watch their people suffer. Worlds that could have solved their energy problems were kept dependent on Council resources, all to maintain control. Michelle prepared a massive data release, working with representatives from 20 different species. They would expose everything at once, making sure every civilization in Council space knew the truth. The day before the planned release, the Council leadership made their move. A fleet of ships appeared near Earth, carrying the forbidden weapons Zixtel had warned about. Their message was simple: submit or be destroyed. But the Council leaders had miscalculated. Their own people had turned against them. As the weapon ships approached Earth, they found themselves surrounded, not by human vessels, but by ships from other Council species. "This ends now," announced the Krith Admiral, his ships moving to block the Council fleet. "We will not allow you to commit this crime." The Valerians and Nexer joined in, their ships forming a barrier between Earth and the Council weapons. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together to prevent more destruction. Michelle watched from Harmony Point as the Council leadership faced the truth. They had lost control. Their own people had chosen freedom over fear, progress over stagnation. Alan's team released all the evidence, broadcasting it across every communication channel in Council space. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Populations that had lived under Council control for generations finally saw the truth. "The old Council is finished," Zixtel declared in an emergency session. "We need a new way forward, a system based on cooperation and shared progress." Michelle found herself at the center of negotiations for a new galactic order. Species that had been enemies now sat together, planning a future where technology would be shared, not suppressed. "It won't be easy," she told Alan as they watched representatives from 40 different species work together. "Some will resist change. Others will make mistakes with their new freedom. But it's better than living under control," Alan replied. "Look at them, working together, sharing ideas. This is what the galaxy should have been all along." The Council leadership was removed from power. Their hidden weapons were destroyed. Their secret archives were opened, revealing centuries of suppressed knowledge that would now benefit everyone. In her final report to Earth, Michelle wrote, "We came into space expecting to find superior beings who would guide us. Instead, we found a system of control that needed to be broken. Our technology didn't just change how we fight wars. It changed how the galaxy thinks about progress." As she looked out at the stars from her office window, Michelle saw ships from dozens of species coming and going freely. Each one carried scientists, engineers, and dreamers ready to push the boundaries of what was possible. The peace they had achieved wasn't based on control or fear. It was built on something stronger: the shared desire to grow, to learn, and to reach for the stars together. "The real revolution," she told Alan, "wasn't in our weapons or our shields. It was in showing the galaxy that there's a better way." And across Council space, now being called the free systems by many, species that had been held back for centuries began to reach for their true potential. The age of suppression was over. The future belonged to everyone. Fleet Admiral Christopher Baker stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Station. Below him, Earth shone like a blue jewel in space. Ships from 100 different species moved through the busy space lanes, their designs as varied as the civilizations that built them. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Susan Morgan asked, joining him at the window. As the lead political advisor for the transition team, She had spent months helping to shape the new galactic government. "Hard to believe it's only been a year since the council fell," Christopher replied, watching a massive Krith science vessel drift past. Its hull gleamed with new technology, a combination of human quantum systems and Krith energy management. The station's main assembly hall was preparing for its first full session. Representatives from every known spacefaring species would meet as equals for the first time in galactic history. "The latest technology sharing reports are in," Susan said, checking her datapad. "The Valerians have already improved our quantum fold drive efficiency by 30%. The Nexar medical technologies, combined with human AI systems, have cured 3 previously unstoppable diseases." Christopher nodded, remembering the dark predictions some had made when the council fell. Many had feared that unrestricted technology sharing would lead to chaos or war. Instead, it had sparked a renaissance. "Any word from the outer systems?" he asked. The former council had kept many species isolated, claiming they weren't ready for advanced technology. "Better than expected," Susan smiled. "The development programs are working. We're helping them advance at their own pace, but without the artificial restrictions the council imposed." The station's alert system chimed softly, announcing the arrival of more diplomatic ships. Christopher watched as vessels of all sizes emerged from quantum fold space. Each one carried representatives eager to participate in the new galactic community. "Admiral Baker," a voice called. He turned to see Zixtel approaching, the former council moderate now serving as one of the chief architects of the new system. "The Military Coordination Council is ready for your presentation." In the years since the council's fall, Christopher had worked to transform the human fleet from a war force into a peacekeeping and exploration service. Other species had followed this example, turning their military resources toward protection and discovery rather than control. "The joint training exercises are showing amazing results," he told Zixtel as they walked to the meeting room. Ships from different species working together, sharing techniques and technologies. The council would have never allowed this. The meeting room was filled with military leaders from 24 species, where once they might have faced each other in battle, now they sat together as allies and friends. "The combined fleet patrols have eliminated piracy in 3 sectors," Christopher reported, showing the latest data. "When ships from different species work together, they're stronger than any single fleet could be." A Krith admiral raised his furred hand. "And what of the rumors of former council hardliners gathering forces in the outer regions?" "We're monitoring the situation," Christopher assured them. "But they have little support. Most species have seen the benefits of cooperation. No one wants to return to the old ways." Meanwhile, Susan attended a different kind of meeting. The Education and Research Council was discussing ways to share knowledge across species safely and effectively. "The quantum database network is now active in 60% of former council space," reported a Valerian scientist, her energy form pulsing with excitement. "Any species can access the combined scientific knowledge of all member civilizations." "And the safety protocols?" asked a concerned Nexar representative. Susan stepped forward. "Each species controls their own access levels. We provide guidance and support, but no one is forced to advance faster than they're comfortable with. This isn't about control anymore. It's about choice." The station shuddered slightly as its quantum shield synchronized with a new energy pattern. The Krith had developed an improvement to the human shield design, and the station was the first to test it. "Perfect integration," announced the chief engineer, a human Valerian joint appointee. "This is what we can achieve when we work together." Later that day, Christopher and Susan attended the opening ceremony of the first Galactic Assembly. The massive hall was filled with representatives from every known spacefaring species, plus observers from developing civilizations. "This is what we fought for," Susan whispered as they watched the proceedings. "Not just humanity's freedom, but everyone's right to grow and develop." The first speaker was a survivor of the old council's suppression, a scientist whose world had been punished for developing medical technology without permission. Now her people were leaders in medical research, sharing their discoveries freely with others. The old council claimed they protected us, she said, her translator conveying the emotion in her voice. But they only protected their own power. True protection comes from cooperation, from sharing our strengths and helping each other overcome our weaknesses. Christopher watched as former enemies voted together on proposals for joint research projects, shared defense initiatives, and exploration missions. The new Galactic Assembly wasn't perfect. There were still arguments and disagreements, but they were handled through discussion and compromise, not threats and suppression. "We've received another development request," Susan told him during a break in the session. A pre-space flight civilization has reached the level where they're starting to detect quantum energy patterns. Under the old council, they would have been forced to stop their research. And now they'll get guidance and support. We'll help them develop safely, at their own pace. No more artificial barriers. The day ended with a ceremony that would have been impossible under the old council. Ships from 20 different species performed a synchronized quantum fold jump, creating a spectacular light show visible from the station's windows. A year ago, most of those species weren't even allowed to have quantum technology, Christopher observed. Now look at them. Susan smiled. And this is just the beginning. Every day, someone comes up with a new idea, a new combination of technologies, a new way of solving old problems. The galaxy is alive with possibility. As they watched the ships dance through space, Christopher thought about how far they had come. The war that had started with a single confrontation near Alpha Centauri had led to something neither side had expected: a complete transformation of galactic society. The Council thought they could stop progress, he said. Instead, they just proved why it's so important. When species are free to develop, to innovate, to share ideas, that's when real advancement happens. The station's night cycle began, dimming the lights to simulate evening. But the work didn't stop. In laboratories, meeting rooms, and ships throughout the galaxy, people of all species continued to work together, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The age of suppression was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And as Susan looked out at the stars, she knew that the greatest discoveries, the most amazing breakthroughs, were still to come. "We didn't just win a war," she told Christopher. "We helped create a future, one where every species has the chance to reach for the stars." And in the depths of space, ships of all kinds continued their journeys, carrying with them the promise of a galaxy where technology served not as a tool of control, but as a bridge between civilizations. The human dream of peaceful space exploration had become a galactic reality.